we're so excited to be able to have Joran with us today to lead us into a really exciting session on the history of facilitation as a little fun teaser. Joran is an avid member of our community. He always leads great thought provoking sessions, and I consider him to be a master facilitator. And with that, Joran, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Kira. Yeah, I'm really honored to be handed the mic today. I really love the Facilitation Lab, and I get so much out of the conversations with other facilitators that I am going to do my absolute best to be conscious of leaving time for discussion and unpacking and reflection on what I'm sharing today, because that's where I get the most value. And as you get into the mural, I can give you some tips when we get in there for the people who aren't that experienced. Let's see. It looks like we have 19 in so far, and we have how many participants in Zoom? 30-ish, 34. So we're waiting for some more to come in. Now we're up to 21. That's fantastic. And if you need any help, let me know. Some context around this that we're going to just do as an icebreaker. I'm working on a project right now that is the follow-up to the book that I just published called The Visual Meetings Field Guide, a deep dive into the fundamentals of facilitation. The very first chapter of this book, the preface, the introduction, is going to be a timeline of how we got here. The framework that I'm using to build this out is David Sibbitt's graphic timeline. I was just in a training with him around strategic visioning, and this is one of the templates that he shared with the cohort. So I figured I would use this for the exercise today. As you can see on the x-axis on the left here where it says key, you can put goals and frameworks or strategies or key events or people's names, products or services or brands, and under learning, that's where I've put either courses or books that have been published. But you can see then the y-axis here is a timeline, and I start here from the left in the 1900s, and I end all the way on the right-hand side going into the future, a future that is still unfolding, future that's still happening. So I've pre-populated this timeline with things like in 1941, and I'm going to just summon everybody so you can kind of see where I'm going to give you a little guided tour here. In 1941, the concept of brainstorming emerged, right? Then as we move to the right, we've got things like the Group Dynamics Research Center being founded in 1945. That's down there on the institutions line. Up here, we've got the Tuckman group dynamics model. We've got the movement that is officially called the graphic facilitation comes online around 1972. That's where we see David Sibbitt leading the first group graphics workshops. We see Jeff Ball, who was a consultant in 1972, begins to write on chalkboard or on the wall a picture of a rainbow and a pot of gold. And this becomes this visual metaphor. He uses it for strategy. He uses it for culture. This is just the kind of the go-to metaphor that he uses. This inspires David Sibbitt to found the Grove in 1977 and go on to train and lead workshops around group graphics and group dynamics. And I even included in this timeline Dungeons and Dragons forming in my home state of Wisconsin in 1974, because what it did was it was a response to what was happening with Pong and home consoles and where technology was headed. Here came this disruption in the gaming marketplace that was all about storytelling, and it was all about sitting around the table and using your imagination. It was imagination based. So I think, and this is, something we lean on a lot as facilitators. I believe the best dungeon masters make the best facilitators and vice versa, right? This is at the core of what we do is world building and, painting done for people and gaining context and clarity and telling stories. So I included it on the timeline. The internet is born in 83. Virtual reality emerges in 85. As I was working through this with David, he insisted that things like commercial printers be included because that was when we could print out things and put them on the walls, and commercial access to printing capability revolutionized the visual facilitation uh, game. And digital cameras too in 1988 came along and allowed us to start documenting the work. We would go around the room and shoot the walls and document the work in a way that we didn't have to wait for film to be developed, right? We could process that film instantaneously. And it goes on to include IAF and X-Plane and the publishing of game storming and all these other things. So my task for you as an icebreaker is to double click anywhere on here, use your axis here of strategies and frameworks and events and sites and products and brands and books and right, all of it, podcasts, you name it. I want between 1 and 3 stickies from all of you. What do you think was a big game changing moment in the history of visual facilitation? If you can get it in the timeline too, where it falls, even better, right? And include that year on the sticky too. When did it happen? And what was it? What shifted the field? What changed the game in your mind? Cindy asks if I'll ask that one more time. I sure will. I want you all to put a sticky on this timeline somewhere along where the year it happened. What was the moment? You can do one, you can do a couple if you want. What was a big game-changing moment in the history of visual facilitation? In other words, you may think to yourself, when that book came out, that was a game changer, right? Or when this person debuted this concept to the world, that shifted everything, right? What were the 1 to 3 major milestones in visual facilitation? Great. I see somebody putting post-it notes happening in the 80s. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. What were the big game-changing moments in the field of visual facilitation?
Joran, Chris mentioned, so is it like a vote?
It is not a vote. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on, this was the big magic moment. Yeah, I just showed you mine that I had so far just to kind of provide a little context. I mean, if you want to put a thumbs up next to one of mine, and huzzah it or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, I'm looking for your opinions too. Let's see what else. PowerPoint, another great one. We got that around 1990. That's perfect. The dot-com boom, 95. Yep, that's great. Oh, Greg asked if it's a comment or a sticky. I'd prefer it to be a sticky. So Greg, just double click anywhere on the mural and it should create a sticky for you. And then you should be able to type right inside it. Ooh, Neuland, another good one. Yep. Zoom and virtual meetings. I see whoever's putting Zoom has it as early as 1990. Is that when? Oh, now they're moving it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know when Zoom was formed. Well, who moved my cheese? That's a good one. Hooking up computers to projectors. Yeah, that's fantastic. YouTube.
For the history buffs out there, Zoom was created in 2011.
2011. Thank you. Okay, so let's make sure we get that Zoom sticky. Yeah, kind of right where that picture is of the kid sitting in front of the computer is right where that would go. Art of Gathering, another good one. Yep. Miro and Mural. Yes, the platform we're in, right? Liberating Structures, another big one. What year was Liberating Structures? Looks like that's between 2015 and 2020. Yes, iPads, visual collaboration. Oh, 2014, it's down here. Yep, Surprising Power was published 2014. Lego Serious Play, that's another good one. Yep, absolutely. Just another minute on this, and then we'll kind of talk about it. TED Talks. Oh, yeah. Ooh, street art and breakdancing. Thank you for putting that on there. Yeah, Post-its. Sticky notes invented. Slam poetry. Okay, about 10 seconds. Horst Rittel, design theorist, coins the term wicked problems. That happens in 1960, just before overhead projectors, and the dry erase board all the way back in 1950. The dry erase board. Butcher paper in 1947. Beautiful. Love it. I've got that on my dining table. Toastmasters. Yeah, when was Toastmasters formed? Okay, perfect.
1924.
24. Fantastic. Will you put a sticky there next to that logo and tag that for me with the year? That'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, so I just want to spend about 5 minutes talking about this timeline. Are there things on here that were surprising to you? Or are you thinking about the history in this timeline in a different way after seeing these stickies? Anyone?
Design thinking was created in the 60s, late 60s, so that's interesting.
Yeah, design thinking. Yeah, that double diamond model.
So my observation is that there's been an explosion in the last maybe 5-10 years of what let's call it popular facilitation.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of going out in the street almost, whereas maybe the period before that was much more around, you know, you trained to be a facilitator. It was more of an apprenticeship, whereas now there's just everybody's doing it, and that might be from Agile, various other places, but it's much more common. And I think bringing in some really, really interesting techniques and approaches.
Yeah, great observation, Michael. I think if we did one of these on like just coaching and consulting, we'd probably see the same thing, right? Back to where it was just Zig Ziglar and, you know, the suit and tie and the briefcase consultant. And now it's like everybody's a life coach and everybody's consulting on various lines of the business, right? Again, with the fragmentation of media, I think it's all connected, right? Great observation. Anyone else?
The other consideration that comes to my mind is that there is an explosion of material, and to make all these skills available to a wider range of people, because the books and the online trainings of any kind that you can go, even this meetup. So until a few years ago, it was unthinkable to meet all these people, to just experience different approaches to facilitation. And the COVID pandemic is, from this standpoint, for me, is like a Christmas day every day, because now things that were accessible just in person are accessible online. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
The pace of change.
And Joran, I'm going to piggyback onto that, but take a different. All these things came out in the most recent past, the most recent future, whatever. They came out now. Yeah, COVID accelerated them, but before that, people were becoming more and more empowered, as far as I'm concerned, because they wanted to see a change in the world. So I see that people are okay. Yeah, you know, I want to be able to change stuff. So to do that, I need to have conversations. I need to have facilitation, and I need to innovate for myself. I can't wait for the big company or the big corporation or the government to do it for me. They recognize it's sort of on us. So I tend to think that's what we're seeing here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Redistribution of tools, redistribution of power. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So really quickly, I got exposed to this group because I met Douglas Ferguson at the last conference I spoke at in person, which is the beginning of last year. And the number one topic where we had the folks from MURAL there was remote facilitation. So that was in February of last year, before everything kind of blew up. But that was what was on people's mind, is how do we take remote facilitation? And COVID just kind of blew that big
Four,
time.
4-star hand.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an interesting. We were already kind of going there, but a lot of people were resistant to change, and then COVID has caused us to change.
Shannon just asked, what conference was that, Jay?
Oh, it was the Control the Room conference.
Okay. In Austin.
It's the one that was talked about just a few minutes ago. By the way, plug, you guys got to go. It's like one of those. It's going to be online. It is freaking awesome. So if you're going to have buyer's remorse if you don't go. So do whatever you can to try to win a free ticket, but you definitely want to go. That is, I'll do a plug there.
Sure.
Here's some more details in the chat also as well. I'm going to go ahead and post a link to some more details. Yes.
And for whoever needed the mural link, that's got posted in there as well. Trisha, did you have a question?
I just wanted to add just an additional comment to kind of what we were saying before in terms of the explosion in all the tools and resources that we're seeing now. But it seems to be coming along just in a time in life where it's needed more than ever. When we look around at all the things that are happening in the world right now, it seems like there isn't a better time for facilitators who want to help make change happen. So kind of the explosion seems to be happening when there's some major questions and sort of directions and changes that are just happening in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm going to move on to the next, to the meat of the exercise today, but this has been really, really fantastic. And again, this is a conversation that we can continue to have, right? As this timeline gets more detailed, more filled in, more nuanced. Again, like I said, this is something that I'm working on for the new book. I'm going to get the list of attendees today from Kira, and I am going to include everyone here because you contributed to this timeline. I'm going to include everyone in this session today in the acknowledgments of the book because you've contributed so well to the timeline. I appreciate it. And this is fantastic.